Good evening. It's Saturday, the 25th of February, and it's time for the news on RIK 2. President Nikos Anastasiadis has told Greece's Real newspaper that the state of play in the divided island does not allow for an overall settlement of the Cyprus problem. The president also described the time up until April's presidency referendum in Turkey as crucial because this determines the stand of the Turkish president on the Cyprus issue. For internal purposes, he explained that Recep Tayyip Erdogan chooses to sustain tension in the UN-brokered peace process up until the day of the referendum. Anastasiadis noted that when the time for determination and goodwill came up, the Turkish Cypriot side, for its own reasons, raised new demands such as the 4 basic freedoms for Turkish nationals. And of course, these led to a cardiac arrest, as he said, of the peace process. Nonetheless, Anastasiadis also made clear that the division of the country cannot be the solution of the Cyprus problem, and that this was the reason why he is ready and willing to go back to the negotiating table. He then stressed that he expects the Turkish Cypriot side to also return to the dialogue so that substantial negotiations do take place. The White House excluded several major U.S. news organizations, including some it has criticized, from an off-camera briefing held by the White House press secretary last night. Reporters for CNN, the New York Times, Politico, the Los Angeles Times and BuzzFeed were not allowed into the session in the office of Press Secretary Sean Spicer. Spicer's off-camera briefing, or gaggle, replaced the usual televised daily news briefing in the White House briefing room. He did not say why those particular news organizations were excluded, a decision which drew strong protests. President Donald Trump has regularly attacked the media and criticized news organizations that he said provide fake news, calling them the enemy of the American people. Reporters at the Associated Press and Time magazine walked out of the briefing when hearing that others had been barred from the session. French presidential challenger François Fillon will face a full judicial inquiry into allegations he paid family members for fake parliamentary jobs after the country's financial prosecutor said she was appointing a magistrate to lead a deeper probe. The escalation is another blow to the Conservative candidate, whose status as favourite to win the presidency has faded since the Penelope Gate affair, named after Fillon's wife, first surfaced a month ago. But it may not stop him from standing in April-May vote. By involving a magistrate in what had so far been a preliminary probe led by police, the prosecutor is putting more resources into the investigation. The inquiry will examine possible misuse of public funds and a lack of full and proper disclosure, according to the prosecutor's statement that was issued as Fillon took to the stage at a campaign rally near Paris. The CISA, France's version of the Academy Awards, took place last night amid international attention and some controversy. Organisers of the 42nd annual CISA told the French newspaper Le Figaro that comparing the ceremony to the Oscars is false and misguided, given the wide gap of resources and culture between the two, and that the French ceremony will introduce audiences to French films that have thus far remained under the public radar but merit wider viewing. Subversive rape thriller Elle, starring Isabelle Habert, topped the awards with the story of a woman who turns the tables on her rapist so she can draw her own pleasure from him. Elle had won this year's Golden Globe for Best Foreign Film and helped revive the career of veteran Dutch director Paul Verhoeven. Suicide bombers have stormed 2 Syrian security offices in Homs, killing dozens with gunfire and explosions, including a senior officer, and prompting airstrikes against the last rebel-held enclave in the western city. The jihadist rebel alliance Tahrir al-Sham said in a social media post that 5 suicide bombers had carried out the attack, which is celebrated with the words "Thanks be to God." But it stopped short of explicitly claiming responsibility. Although the government of President Bashar al-Assad has controlled most of Homs since 2014, Rebels still control its Al-Waea district, which warplanes bombed this morning, wounding 50. The attack comes as government and opposition delegations joined peace talks in Geneva, sponsored by the United Nations. Tahrir al-Sham opposes the talks and has fought with factions that are represented there. Now a look at tomorrow's weather. Mostly clear skies with light to moderate winds, force 2 to 3 over slight seas. Temperatures will reach 20 Celsius inland and in coastal areas and 11 over the mountains. The depth of snow on Mount Olympus is 40 centimetres and 30 over the Troodos Square. The pleasant weather is expected to continue up until Green Monday. That's all for today. Join us tomorrow again for more news in English. Have a very good evening.